Hey everybody, welcome back to the Great and Terrible Oz. We are here to discuss Season 7, Episode 8, Winter of Our Discontent.
I
Episode
get it,
stinks.
because her name. Got it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
that's clever.
There was a lot of winter in this episode, which was good. It is unfortunate the things they decided to have Winter do and have done to her in this episode.
She's definitely discontent in this episode, so I guess it's pretty accurate.
She's not the only one.
Well, I guess we start with where it opens, which is a line of what
I
will
guess
be.
first introductions. I'm Ty.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. I just assume
we
everybody
should do
knows.
that.
But that's true.
I know it's so easy to assume people always start with season 1 episode 1 like I would, or like season 7 episode 1 as it is in this case. But no, there are people who just are like, I'll just see what they're up to now.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
Fine.
more power to you. But I'm Ty Tuesday. With me is Liz.
That's me.
Hey. And Slow Beef. Hey, what's good?
What's going on?
Great. So we have any overarching thoughts about this episode we want to get out of the way? Any things we want to put in the air to think about, to ruminate on over the course of this? Because I know you have one, Slow Beef, that's pretty interesting, but I don't know when you want to add that to that particular seasoning to the stew.
I think when we get to the scene that I'm talking about, in particular, is when I'll bring it up. Yeah. This episode also sucks, but at least that we're on more familiar ground than last time. Like, it sucks for the reasons we're more used to, and so
It's
we're
about
not
the plot.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah, you're not going to spend 2/3 of the episode on characters we haven't met before or anything like that, or So
Also, if you were wondering if there was going to be a big payoff for that last episode, they reference it twice in passing in this episode, and I don't think it really needed to be there either time. So I still am saying season 7, episode 7, a literal complete waste of time.
Yeah. There's maybe not even as an aside thing does it ever affect the plot of this specific episode. So as of now, everything that it affects dialogue. It's like when you make a decision in a video game and all it ends up changing is the dialogue later, but the same things happen.
Yeah, and the thing is, they are very shitty to the women in this episode, so they didn't need to have a whole episode building up why the women are mad. They very clearly demonstrate why the women are mad in this episode, and it's blunt and to the point and handled with the grace of a sledgehammer falling off a mountain. They really didn't need a whole episode leading up to it, which I guess we should.
if you I will say this too, because they've had asides where women have been pushed back and stuff, you know what I mean, for Kai's new Fight Club thing, which we kind of are just seeing, but this episode alone would have done the job, frankly. So it's almost this show is really wasting a lot of my time here. So anyhow, sorry. What do we got? What's going on?
Okay, so that brings us to our opening scene, which as we've seen in American Horror Story so far, usually rarely has anything to do with the actual episode, but for once it's actually happening in a chronological order, and we are seeing Vincent, which, if you are confused as to who that is the therapist. That is Allie's therapist. Very rarely has he been referred to as Vincent, but if we say Vincent, that's who we're talking about. He is approaching Kai's house, and a single file line of what I will be referring to as the Proud Boys is leaving, because that's what they are.
Because that's what they are. That's blatantly what they are. Yeah.
Right.
And all of the Proud Boys leave, and then standing on the front porch with his arms folded in a full denim outfit is
My
Kai.
man is in the Canadian tuxedo, ready to rock. This is so good. Oh my God. The aesthetics. They really decided Kai needs to be a cult leader, and then when someone asked, well, which cult leader should we model him off of, they were just like, yes. Just pick whatever from whoever.
Yep. Pick the most obscure characteristics and apply it to this man. He is wearing the denim outfit. That's not really relevant to the plot. I just felt like the people who aren't watching along should know that he's wearing denim for this whole exchange. And then they go down to the basement, and Vincent offers Kai a drink, which is weird given that it's not Vincent's house, but whatever. And then Kai says that he's, no thank you, he has to stay sharp for the men, which whatever that means. He then promptly thanks Vincent for sending the edible arrangement to him in the hospital, which is a weird brand drop. I don't know if it was meant to land as a joke or if it was product placement. But he very specifically shouts out that Vincent sent him an edible arrangement in the hospital. But then he's like, I guess you didn't visit me because you were ashamed that your patient colluded with Meadow to try and kill me. Which I guess at this part in the show, we're supposed to still think that Allie is on the hook for the shooting, but for once, Allie didn't actually do a crime. There's like so much video evidence and eyewitness reports that prove that she didn't do a crime. Yet, for some reason, people are still referencing her like she did do the crime. She did not, though. She has done many other crimes in this show, don't get me wrong. This was not one of them, though. She's not on the hook for this one, nor should she be. But that's, I guess, his reason for why Vincent didn't come to visit him. And what's weird is they have this, like, kind of like a heartfelt moment where, like, Vincent's like, yeah, you know what? I was scared. Like, blah, 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 blah. I should have been there for you. I'm proud of you. Like, I know Dad's not here, but I'm proud of you. And in this moment, I watched this scene twice today. And, like, in that moment, I totally forgot that Vincent is a crazy person and he mummified his parents upstairs. Yeah. I totally forgot that Vincent is not a well-adjusted human being who is just normal insane.
They're aggressively trying to humanize him in this, which I think is partially because they realized it's hard to talk about why I think this is without talking about now the spoiler at the end of the episode, which makes it very clear that, yes, this is what they were doing. They realized Allie's alone right now. Like, she has literally no one to play off of. She is the only protagonist in the story at this point, you know? Like, they ran out of people with her because they made her wife and son leave. So they were like, have Vincent be on her side. But again, we're supposed to assume Vincent isn't in or know anything about the cult somehow. I didn't like that.
You know, or the fact that he was capable of doing something so weird and fucked up, like mummifying his parents after their murder suicide,
to protect the inheritance, no less, like for that kind of reason, like for something that is not to protect a loved one. It was to protect his own vested interests in his therapist work.
But like, you know, it's funny because I didn't take that at face value because I figured, no, he's like, you know, maybe he's like secretly part of the cult or messed up or something. But yeah, they're really playing this like, no. He's like, he's thinking perfectly rationally and he's just a bad guy. And it's like, but
he was just looking out for his little brother and his little sister, even though he then said that bitch only calls back here for money anyway, fucker. Like, which again, Vincent kind of like, they couldn't figure out what kind of person he was supposed to be in like, across 2 paragraphs. Like, that was too long to maintain a single character. So yeah, they're absolutely doing that. They're trying to bring Vincent back as like, oh no, he's totally a good guy. He's on Allie's side. He didn't know about any of this. Also, he isn't wild as hell, even though he was the original Pinky Promise guy, as was shown in that flashback and may or may not be mentioned later. Also, yeah, he was the guy who, when Kai was like, hey, our parents are dead, he did, in fact, as Liz mentioned, come in and say, we gotta mummify our parents. Like, that was his solution, which is not a good solution. Not a vote of confidence from your boy Ty on that shit.
No, I know, right. Yeah. It's like,
Which also,
not only is it creepy and weird, it's not a good way to hide a body, is the other thing. It's also like a bad job on hiding a body.
You don't need a lot of body.
There. The bodies are both right there. If anything, you're like increasing the odds of the body being found every day than if you just threw it in the woods. Like, oh my God.
There's so much more evidence here. Yeah.
It's extra frustrating when you remember things that, like, I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but, like, especially this season, they do it all the time, but, like, especially in this season, they're like, oh, as we do these big reveals, you're going to think back on previous things that happened in other episodes, and you'll be like, oh, I'm looking at it in a different light now. And if you'll remember, one of those things was his interaction with Allie and Ivy with the handgun of him being like, you're right, I won't tell your wife about the handgun, even though you're clearly unhinged right now. And then, like, he meets with Ivy outside, and she's like, do you have anything to tell me? And he says, not yet. That's supposed to be, like, a cool little, like, oh, that was, like, a double entendre. No, it's not, because he's not in the cult, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
That was nothing. That was a scene that was nothing.
Also, like, a big thing that explained away a lot of the inconsistencies and how would these clowns have possibly had this information was Vincent was working with them extensively.
Right.
Of course, now they are just going to say, well, oh, Kai was sneaking in and doing stuff.
He was reading his files,
again, we mentioned it during our watch, but really bad for a doctor to do. You can't do that. That's a huge HIPAA violation. You don't want people getting into your files and just reading stuff. That's not good.
No, but, like, Vincent's whole plan is anything he needs secured, he just puts in his bedroom and assumes, like, nobody can go in there. Like, it's base that you call, and that's why, like, the body will be hidden, and that's fine.
You know what? From the originator of the Pinky Power dipshit stuff, yeah, I'd believe it. Okay.
Vincent is working off of, like, second grade rules. Like, Vincent does everything off of, like, a second grade level. He's like, if I call timeout, you can't call the police on me. That's how it works.
No, yeah, he 1,000% believes, like, you know, cops have to tell you if you asked them when they're cops. He, like, 1,000% like, no, that's real. I learned that in school.
He tells all of his patients that, too, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh. Okay, so that was about the first scene. The scene ends with them hugging, because, again, it's, like, a weirdly, like, humanizing scene where Vincent is, like, really, like, trying to connect with Kai and being like, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. You got shot. Like, clearly some stuff is going on. Like, I'm sorry. I'm here now. And then they hug. And then Kai does this weird thing where he's like, from now on, only refer to me as Councilman. And then there is a very funny instrumental horror sting. It reads so much like a parody, but it's not. They're doing it unironically. It is so funny because, again, Kai is on the zoning board. So for him to do this, like, Lion King, long live the king moment with Vincent, but he's like, call me Councilman from now on, and then have, like, the funny horror sting. Chef's kiss for being unintentionally the funniest thing in the show. Just truly...
Just beautiful.
A masterpiece of cinema.
Just beautiful.
And then there was nothing new in the opening sequence. I actually watched it this time. But I did notice, I pointed out when we were watching the episode earlier, something I had not taken note of before was that the last shot of the opening sequence is always a pinky promise.
Oh, yeah, but they're handcuffed, yeah.
But they're handcuffed.
Yeah.
Get it? They don't. I mean, it's...
But I had not, I guess because I just zone out in the openings now. I had not noticed that until today.
I will bet you anything in the production notes or storyboard there is, like, some margin note or something written in pen that says symbolism with a question mark on it right there. They didn't think that through. You're like, maybe, yeah, you know.
They're like, this means something, right? I feel like that's most of American Horror Story's writing, is just like them holding things out in their hand, kind of like the dog in the sequence, being like, is this anything? Holding a dead dog? Is that something? Is this a symbol of something? Is this a thing? And most of the time the answer is no. It's not. And then scene 2 opens on our second favorite set in the American Horror Story cult season, which is the butchery.
The butchery, which I would like you to remember, is called the butchery before anyone tells you what they're serving today at the butchery.
The butchery, which we know has a fuck off huge meat freezer that they have to spend thousands of dollars to keep stocked every day.
And
also
a coffee bar.
And a coffee bar that does
And
really
a
great
bakery.
coffee. And a bakery.
With
and
incredible baked goods.
And an ice creamery where they have artisanal ice creams.
And a Michelin star kitchen with all sorts of heating elements and stuff that can create very delicate dishes.
And it's okay, so it's full of the Proud Boys currently. It's just full. And by the way, in case you're wondering how we know, they're all wearing what I consider to be like the Letterkenny outfit, which is like a button-up shirt buttoned up all the way to the neck, and then jeans with the shirt tucked in. All of them are wearing that in the same colors. So that's how we know that they're together.
With the exact same haircut too, like and all that stuff. Yeah.
They are very clearly together as a group. And they're all there eating, I guess, and the waitstaff and Ivy are delivering food to each table. They're serving, from my best estimations, I paused it several times, omelets, salad, green juice, and dinner rolls is the is the spread that's being served to all of the Proud Boys for some reason. They're not into it because as soon as Ivy delivers it to the table, one of the assholes at the table literally spits out some lettuce like he's 3 years old and is like, I'm not eating that. And Ivy's like, well, Kai says you need to eat healthier. Like she's a mom and like Kai's her husband or something. Like Dad said you need to eat your vegetables.
Cult mom. It's beautiful,
but like the way she says it is like she just delivers it pretty objectively. He like spits out the lettuce like he's a goddamn toddler. And is like, I'm not eating this. And she's like, oh.
And she just says, this is under orders of the big boss.
Yeah.
This is head honcho said this is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Like, which, you know what? In a cult, that's good work by Ivy. Calling upon the authority of the higher is absolutely the way you do it. Unfortunately, American Horror Story forgot. And the guy instead goes, you bitches are so sensitive, which, as you've noted, sensitive about what? Like, she just said...
She didn't even react. Like, he just spits it out, and she's like, oh, yeah, Kai wanted you to eat this. Like, she doesn't even say it with, like, any inflection. She's like, oh, yeah, Kai wanted you to eat this stuff.
Also, she's a head chef at a restaurant who wasn't allowed to plan the menu, apparently. So, like, why would she care if you didn't like what the menu had planned on it? Like, that's as someone who has worked in kitchens, like, if someone's like, oh yeah, I don't like your options on your menu, the cook isn't going to be like, what an asshole. They're just gonna be like, oh, weird, they didn't want what we had, I guess. Like, it's not like a mark against your ability to prepare something if somebody just doesn't like that thing.
It's a very weird the way that I'm about to explain it makes it sound like I've missed something or I forgot something, but I promise it's not. This is literally how it unfolds. Is she
without knowing what you're gonna say or refer to, I already know, like, this is Liz is correct. Don't you trust her, everyone.
So she delivers the food. He spits out the lettuce. He's like, I'm not eating it. She's like, Kai said to eat it. And he's like, bitches are so sensitive. And then the dude across from him, like, kind of scoffs. And he goes, all you, and then he, like, kind of looks at Ivy and Winter, who's also serving food, would be a lot more bangable if you guys smiled more. Okay, cool. Cool anecdote from this guy. Had nothing to do with the conversation, though he delivered it like it was a response to something that was said in the conversation. Very odd.
Yeah.
Okay, I would get this scene being this direct and this over the top of just like saying all of the things that everyone knows women fucking hate more than anything. Like, just saying all those things in a row. If we didn't just spend a whole episode trying to more subtly establish why the women hate Kai, which, or, like the cult or the way the cult is going or whatever.
Right,
it's just like, it was like they're trying to say it's like this mystery, but now it's so blatant that like anyone who is there would be able to notice, hey, this isn't going great. Hey, we're having some issues. Like, like you can't observe that have that be a thing that Kai could see, and then just have him be like, I don't understand why the women are mad at us.
And then Valerie,
I don't get what the problem is. Also, I just told them all they have to work in the kitchen. That's fine, right? Oh my God.
I mean, Valerie Solanas would be rolling in her grave if she knew Bebby Babbitt's like going with Kai, you know? Like, what the heck? Didn't we just... Oh, baby, what are you doing to me? I thought we were going to kill 1,000 men. Now get this.
So the women hating Kai was part of Kai's plan then, right? Like, that's what we were supposed to conclude from the end of the last episode, yeah?
We're supposed to conclude that anything that happens is part of Kai's plan, because he is an omniscient, like, hell god, but, like, at the same time is the worst boy.
But I mean, they literally like ended on a shot of him and Baby Babbitt's like hanging out, smoking big stogies and being like, yeah, I love it when the women are angry. And then she goes, yeah, me too. And they smile at each other. So like, okay, yeah, actually remember that going forward, that this was part of Kai's plan to make the women angry at him and rebel, because it doesn't benefit him, and he acts like it's all a surprise later on in this episode. So,
yeah. Also, before I forget, jokes on the guy who said that they'd be more bangable if they smiled, because Meadow smiled all the time, and apparently, according to this show, she was the single most unfuckable person on the planet, and that's why she died. So this guy's logic doesn't even hold water. Maybe someone should have introduced him to Meadow, because she would have had a few words about that. By the way, when he says this, Ivy does grab a knife like she's gonna stab him, which queen shit. I wish it would have happened. It doesn't though. Winter like stops her, and there's a very weird brief moment where it looks like they're gonna kiss. But then they don't, and then they like storm back to the kitchen, or at least Ivy does, and she starts like ranting.
Like character relations. No, come on.
Yeah, it's just a really. Oh, and then the dude like comments on her ass as she walks away, because again, heavy-handed doesn't even begin to describe the writing in this show. They had to really
the only way it could have been more direct is if like one of the guys in the very back stood up as they were walking out, was just like, we hate women, yeah. Like, that's the only thing they could have done to be more direct. It was obscene.
It really.
And for some reason, Beverly is in the kitchen, and she's like making dinner rolls, which again for us doesn't make any sense.
And also big misplay by Kai, and also not believable, because even if Beverly told, or even if like Kai told Beverly like, hey, can you go help make rolls? Based on everything we know of her character up to this point, she would say, no, fuck you. We're equals. I'm not doing that. Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Ivy makes like a Handmaid's Tale reference, which I guess it was to be topical. I forgot to even Google if Handmaid's Tale was even out at this point.
I feel like that 100% had to be like, by the way, here's something from pop culture that's happening right now. We're relevant, you know. Let me see.
Yeah, because I mean, like, if this is pre the Hulu series, then she's referring to the book, which I cannot imagine was a very broad audience that also watches American Horror Story.
2017, April 26, 2017, which is around when this aired. So, yeah, it's
right
either in the news for coming out or is out by the time this
So it's
airs.
most likely an attempt on their part to be, like, relevant and topical.
Yes. Yeah.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense, because as someone who has watched The Handmaid's Tale, a dude just saying nice ass and smile more is not what happens in The Handmaid's Tale. It is significantly different.
Aunt Lydia would be like, you gotta step this up. I'm sorry. This isn't right. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. In fact, The Handmaid's Tale stuff comes later to a different character in this episode. Mm-hmm. So maybe it was supposed to be foreshadowing, I guess. Then we get our first flashback, because they're like, Ivy is ranting to Beverly, and Beverly's like, "Oh well, you don't understand. You weren't at the city council meeting last night." Which cool.
So this scene is murderous to me, because this is where she literally says, like, Ivy's like, what happened to, we were gonna take over and, you know, get rid of the men and kill the turds or whatever, and Beverly just goes, none of that matters anymore. We wrote it out of the story because now he has an army. We didn't want to incorporate that episode anymore because it was the lowest rated episode we've ever filmed. So they just like quietly stepped away. They had Beverly say, that episode doesn't count anymore. Forget about it.
Yep.
Oh my
God.
God.
It was we couldn't have only 10 episodes this season, so it was literally filler.
Which without going into too many details or getting derailed too much, I feel like Slow Beef maybe can attest to this. I feel like I may have like mind palaced a couple of them. I might have like mind holed them. But I think almost every season has an episode like that. Like not even intentionally, but like one where you're like, yeah, they very clearly want to get to the next big plot point, but they don't know what to do in between. So they're just going to do some shit.
I call that every episode of American Horror Story, really.
You know what?
Which
That's
is like,
actually fair.
I don't know how to get to the next plot point, so let's get there somehow, and then the truck drives through.
So now that Beverly has mentioned, you don't understand he has a little army. They flashback to city council where Kai is on the zoning board voting about something presumably about zoning. And one guy on the council who, I guess you noted his name is Carrie, says, no, I'm not for this. The shot pans out to the entire city council, and the entire gallery is filled with Lil Proud Boys carrying assault rifles openly, which, not a thing you get to do in government buildings. That's not, no, actually. They don't let you just bring your buddies with assault rifles into the courtroom. Like, that's not, you can't do that.
Even if Kai was like, yeah, it's cool, they're with me, you still don't get to do that. Like, as somebody who has a concealed carry license, believe me, they reinforce you are not allowed to take a firearm on any government property unless you are like a cop. Like, even post office parking lots, you cannot have your weapon. Like, there is not a snowflake's chance in hell that these dudes walked into this courtroom with what appears to be assault rifles.
Under no circumstances. For the record, never fuck with the post office. Absolutely do not. The post office general, like the conviction rate for the postal worker, the like post office inspectors is like 97% or something like that. Like absolutely unbelievable conviction rate. Don't fuck with the mail. Just don't. Just don't do it.
Yeah, it's that scene, like they've done a lot of stuff with that where it's like so clear the writers have never either owned a firearm or spoken to anyone who owns a firearm, because between the stuff with Harrison just giving out guns,
I forgot about that. Yeah, he just without any kind of check or license or any just kind of have a gun. Hey, enjoy.
They so clearly do not understand guns, and that's not me being like guns are good. Like it's like no, like the people who like own guns that aren't crazy about them, like no, there are laws. Even the people who are crazy about them know there are laws.
They know there's laws. Yeah, there's like systems in place and things you can't do with them. Yeah,
Right. And then this part, just for clarification, I watched 15 minutes of this episode prior to watching it with people, so I got to watch the first 15 minutes twice. But when I was watching it alone...
you watched it with people, huh?
Well, I don't want to be
people?
Well, if I say I watched it with Ty, people are going to be like, well, what happened to Slow Beef? We just hate Slow Beef. We don't like watching videos with him.
Okay, Slow Beef watched it after we recorded, like the day after we recorded last week.
I was on a business trip, so I was like, it's too late for certain.
And I forgot we were recording tonight, so I was watching today.
Same, because I did a marathon on Saturday and had a migraine on Sunday, and then today I was like, oh fuck, we changed the date of our recording to one day earlier. So yeah, Liz and I both were just like, oh hey, you're also watching it last minute like an irresponsible buffoon? Want to be irresponsible buffoons together?
We're now all even. We all have a count against us. But when I watched it prior to watching it with Ty, when this scene came on, the next thing that Kai says, because again, it's just Carrie who is opposing whatever Kai proposed, which, by the way, they don't explain. They don't say what Kai proposed. They're just like, Kai proposed something and Carrie is not into it. Everybody else is, but they're probably being intimidated by the men with guns in the room. But Carrie is not on board. I literally audibly went, ugh, during this scene, because literally verbatim, the next couple of lines, Kai rips straight out of like the Purge franchise's like mission statement, because basically what is implied is that Kai wants these Proud Boys with the guns to like be like special police kind of that only answer to Kai, who's on the zoning board for some reason.
The zoning board special police.
Yeah. And Carrie's like, no, that's weird and fucked up. I don't like that. It's weird and dangerous. And then Kai goes, well, Carrie, I happen to remember that you live in a gated community, and not everyone can afford that for protection. That's literally verbatim the entire plot of the whole Purge franchise. That is it. They were like, I really like what that franchise had going on. What if we just stole their entire thing for this one line?
American Horror Story really does do that a lot, too. Of just like, I like your movie. What if we did your movie? Briefly and poorly.
Just like Hideo Kojima. Amazing.
And then, like, he does the same thing that happens in the Purge movies, where he's like, well, Carrie, I happen to remember that you have a 14 and a 16-year-old daughter, which, first of all, fucking weird. It would sure be a shame if something bad happened to them. Like, doesn't say what it is, just, like, makes, like, a weird veiled threat. When they weren't within your gated community. And then Carrie's like, oh, shit, you're right. And then agrees. And then
presumably afterwards submits this recording to like a federal investigator of some kind, because like you can't say that at a meeting. You can't say like, wow, it'd be crazy if I killed your kids, huh? Like, you can't just like say that to somebody. Like it's not thinly veiled, it's nunly veiled. Like he just basically says like, hey man, if you don't stop opposing me, I'm gonna kill your kid. Like you can't.
Yeah. And
Yep.
remember, they don't tell us what they're voting on. We do not know what Kai was trying to get passed, but this is Beverly recanting the story to Ivy so that Ivy understands why they can't do the plan they made up. So, like, basically they had Beverly say a bunch of word salad and tell us about something that happened that still doesn't explain why they can't just do the thing that they were planning on doing all last episode. So it does basically nothing except for show us that I guess that they can get guns onto government property, which is not really relevant, but it's just something to show us, I guess, as a treat. But then after the flashback's over, it goes back to the butchery. And then Beverly kind of just like goes against exactly what she was just the point she was just trying to prove, and is like, the Denim Army, the Proud Boys, they're just a bunch of pawns. Like, we got to go after Kai. And I'm like, okay, so are you worried about their army, or are you not worried about their army? Because, like, you just said we couldn't do our plan because now Kai has an army, but now you're literally saying that the army doesn't matter. It just matters if we get rid of Kai.
She just realized that she was just thinking about the movie Independence Day, as many of us do, and we're like, what if I killed the mothership? Wait a minute, Kai's the mothership.
The Fifth Element, when they won't fight without the leader, that is aliens. There you go. Boom. Yeah. That's it. That's Kai, of course. There we go.
They don't show that because it's implied that she was thinking about the film Independence Day, as it is for most American citizens at any given point in time.
There probably was a whole plot thread about aliens like invading and shit that they had to cut for time, but like they're like, what the hell? Let's just put that in there at this point.
Oh my god.
We have the shooting of Andy Warhol for some fucking reason.
We did a whole episode about the shooting of Andy Warhol for some reason, which is, it does not further the plot of our actual story. Not that anything ever does. And then, like, as soon as Beverly has the Independence Day revelation, Winter, and I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this, explodes into the kitchen. I don't know if she was like listening at the door or if she just assumed they were talking about Kai or what, but she quite literally explodes through the door and goes.
She does what I could only describe as Kramering for distance.
Yes.
Competitive Kramering through the door.
She does. And then she goes, "You can't kill Kai. There's a bigger plan, and you just gotta trust him." And Beverly's like, "No, just because you're his sister, he's not gonna like be nice to you. Like he's a nasty little boy." And Winter's like, "You just don't understand him. He's just a misunderstood little baby man." And then we get another flashback.
This one.
She's like, okay. She says this is about where Ty and I started watching together.
Yeah.
She goes, "I wouldn't be here without Kai, and I want to make it clear right now, 0% of what I'm about to tell you has anything to do with that statement, because nothing that happens in this next flashback can be accredited to Kai in any way." All right, this one's gonna take so much to unpack. This scene is so many things. She's like, "We were doing," and by we she means her and Kai. "This is October 31st, Halloween 2015, which was allegedly 2 years ago. I guess it is 2 years ago, so I guess we're in 2017. She's like, "Me and Kai were doing what we always do, which is them sitting at a MacBook in their basement." And she goes, "We were trolling social justice warriors online." What does that mean? The audience may be asking themselves. Were they like, what were they doing?
Yeah, especially if you're like me and you're like, but Winter was what would be called a social justice warrior. Like, as somebody who has been lumped into that for telling Gamergate chuds to suck my ass, yeah, like she would be the one being called an SJW. So why would Winter be? Well, Liz paused and found out, so you didn't have to.
Yeah, I paused it so I could like zoom in and see what they were doing on the screen, and they're in like a weird like pop out chat room. Which this is 2015. People definitely used Skype and shit, but they said this is on the dark web, even though they're just using Safari.
Yeah. Sorry, I hate this set scene so much.
Oh, I have to. Don't worry, Slow Beef. The next 5 to 10 minutes of television is the worst.
It's so bad. So bad.
So their idea of trolling social justice warriors is that they're in a chat room with 3 other people who are just saying Bible verses. And then they make like these like weird, really satirical, over the top caricature posts on this far right radical alt-right forum. About like abortion should be not only should abortion be banned, but also we should just kill the mother and take the baby because only the baby's without sin. Like they're very clearly like acting like over the top caricatures and like making fun of alt-right people, which is who they have referred to as SJWs.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually didn't even pick up on that part because I was so annoyed with, like, Winter, that's you! Like, what are you talking about? Like, but you're absolutely right. It's not even that. Oh, my God.
Yeah. They're attempting to troll the alt-right by being extremely the alt-right. It doesn't...
But... because, and by the way, she does say that this is the dark web. Again, it's just Safari on their MacBook Pro. So I'm not sure what the writers think the dark web is. But also, because they are posting such over the top bullshit, they catch the attention of a user named Pastor Charles, who is like, "Hey, come to this location called the Judgment House." Which let's give them, I guess, a moment of suspending disbelief and pretend they're actually on the dark web. If someone named Pastor Charles sends you a photo of a really fucked up looking house saying, come to this place, don't do that.
On the dark web?
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that ever.
What if he offers me apes? What if he offers me fine, rare, vintage apes?
Well, hold on. Now, I don't even want to go there because you obviously take them as the answer, but what they're...
Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah, no, that's not even a question. But, like, this is what really annoys me about the scene, too. What they're doing is they're referencing a thing that was going on in the news at the time where, like, haunted houses, like the kind where they have, like, actors and shit like that. There were these, like, Christian haunted houses.
Yes.
Liz, you want to explain? Because Liz grew up where these are.
I will let Slow be finished. I schooled Ty on these while we were watching the episode because I went on a similar rant. Please go on.
No, you may be the one to do it, because I was just gonna say, yeah, like what they do is they take, like, rather than like, oh, here's like you being chased in like a little maze with a guy with a chainsaw, it's like, oh, look, here's the horrors of not going to church on Sunday, and it's like some like person burning in hell, or like someone who regrets an abortion, and it's like there's blood on them and like on their like crotch and everything. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, what if we took Halloween and made it like for a really scary interpretation of like Jesus and shit? Like, you know, it's really fucked. And this is American Horror Story saying, let's pull that from the headlines while we're here.
100%. I'm so glad you brought it up, because I have a whole paragraph dedicated to this. Because so some people, I actually thought that Ty would know what it was, because I thought more people knew about them, but apparently not.
No, in Indiana we had haunted houses where you like walk, even in the churches, you'd like walk through the church, and then like the pastor in a Jason mask would jump out and be like, that's what we had. And then the church used this to raise money to support the church, and it was fun for kids and for everybody, and it got people who weren't into the church, which, you know, might make them more comfortable long term. Now explain what your church
Okay, so I grew up in the very evangelical South, and a lot of the churches where I came from in East Texas would do what was called hell houses, because of course, as we all know, Halloween is the devil's birthday, and we can't celebrate it. That's a real quote
just
from a
like
real
how
person that I know.
Christmas is Jesus's birthday. Exactly.
That's how it
it's
works.
Christmas and dark Christmas.
Listen, there are two unequivocal truths in the evangelical South. It is one, that the fossils of dinosaurs were tools of Satan to make you question your faith in
test
God.
your faith.
And two, that October 31st is Satan's birthday. Those are the two unequivocal truths.
That's why Thanksgiving's a neutral zone. I get it now.
Yeah, it's right in the middle.
Yeah.
It's a nice meeting. Actually, I guess it is right in the middle, I guess. But anyway,
sure.
in case you don't know what a hell house is, because I guess some people don't, because you cannot celebrate Halloween, they would either do what's called trunk or treat, which is just like an excuse. It's a autumn celebration, and they'll give you candy. Or if you went to a more batshit insane church, like we did, they would have what's called a hell house. And a hell house is them renovating a huge portion of the church to be basically a haunted house, but instead of having like slashers and stuff, each one would be like, here's 2 gay people dying of AIDS. You don't want to be gay because that's what will happen. Or here's a woman who bled out to death because she had an abortion and now she's burning in hell and her baby's burning in hell. Like, that is literally every room. It is horrendous. It is traumatizing. It is disgusting. But they do it all the time. It's a real thing. And I guess American Horror Story was like, what if we did that? But it was like worse. So they stole the Saw franchise's plot line, and they applied it to a hell house, which is run by Pastor Charles. And for some fucking reason, Kai thinks it will be hilarious to go to Pastor Charles's hell house in the middle of the night with no witnesses, except for Winter.
Hey, by the way, who probably doesn't know how to get on the dark web? Pastor's doing a hell house. Just gonna throw that out there. Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
Well, don't worry. He's got a MacBook too, and it also has Safari, so he's got access to the dark web. It's all good.
Yeah.
I would love if in like episode 10, they're like, yeah, actually, all of this is just about the fact that there was like a bug on one build of Safari that would let it get into Tor on accident, and it just creating this entire group of fucking creeps.
And so they go in, they knock on the door, and this absolute weirdo opens it, and that's Pastor Charles, and he's like, I am the beholder or some shit, and then lets them in. And it should also be noted, this is kind of important because I guess it's for us to understand like timelines. They finally have started giving physical clues. Kai does not have blue hair here. He has brown hair. Winter also has brown hair. To indicate the reverse passage of time for the first time in this show. And I mentioned this to Ty as we were watching this whole scene unfold. What's weird and fucked up is like, Kai is like kind of likable in the next scene. Like, he's kind of like a little bit smarter than he normally is. He makes a funny quip that actually makes me laugh. And he does like rational person shit. And I was like, man, if they had just kept this guy the way that he is here, I would maybe buy him as a cult leader. Like, if he wasn't a weird little greaseball who apparently is omnipotent, and also a weird little skeezy boy, I would definitely buy this guy as being a cult leader. Like, kind of generically attractive, like, a little bit funny, kind of charismatic, but like practical, smart enough to see through people's stuff. Like, nope.
Able to make decisions, like strong, bold decisions fairly quickly and act on them and get other people around him to work together and also act on them. Like, yeah, this is like a character. Like, I get why they had to have this scene, but it's too late, right? Like, it's too little too late.
I have kind of a different take, which is that, like, they're out of characters, and this is like the extreme form of I don't know what Kai is because I need more characters and I don't have them, so it's got to be Kai, you know?
Yeah. You know what? That also makes sense, especially given that this whole flashbacks to air quotes explain why Winter owes Kai her life, I guess. Which, keep in mind, they're in this situation, being the haunted house, because of Kai, because Kai thought it would be funny. So any distress that Winter experiences is also Kai's fault. They get to the weird house. He's like, you want to go through my haunted house? And they're like, I guess. And so they start going through the hell house. And the first room is a very stereotypical room that you'd find in a hell house, which is a crib with blood in it, and a woman strapped to a delivery table who is covered in blood, kind of like whispering the words like, oh, I killed my baby and now I'm bleeding out. And then she says that, and this genuinely got a laugh out of me.
Yeah, same. Same, yeah.
She's like reaching weakly for Kai, and she's like, I'm bleeding out. And Kai goes, bummer. And then
bummer, damn. Like, literally looks at her and just goes, damn, that's crazy.
It is so, the way that it happens is so funny because, like, realistically, like, he doesn't know it's real, which that's how I act in haunted houses too. I'm like, if someone runs at me with a chainsaw, I'm like, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, he's just reacting like a normal person in a haunted house. But the way it's delivered is just very funny. And then she like kind of grabs for him and she's like, I'm not joking. Like, he kidnapped me here, and I'm like you gotta help me. You gotta get me out of here. And he goes, damn, she's really good. And then like he lifts his hand up and smells it, and he's like, she's not faking, which means for the third time in this goddamn season, Kai has correctly identified human blood by scent alone. And I hate that. But he does it, and he's like, uh-oh, I smell blood, so it's real. And then, like, I lost myself in the sauce a bit here. I don't remember what Winter's reaction is, but then they move on to the next room, and a corpse falls, like, kind of near them, and they're like,
I remember Winter's reaction mostly just generically being like, wow, this sucks. Wow, bad. I hate it here.
Yeah. And then they start heading towards a different room, where a corpse falls, and they're like, whoa. And then Kai goes, it smells like death in here. And I'm like, Kai, can we either address the weird, like, Tanjiro demon slayer power you have, or, like, not? Like, this weird thing where you can smell knives, you can smell blood, you can smell death. We're going to have to address it eventually. We don't, but we should, for sure. Then the room they enter has like 3 people that have OD'd on the ground. And then there's a dude laying on a table with like hella needles stuck in him, like Jigsaw and Amanda from Saw 2. And he's like, this guy's alive. And he's like, hey, buddy, are you good? And the dude like starts like not really seizing, but compulsing. And he's like, the guy is keeping me alive with a drug of my own choosing. I'm being pumped full of ecstasy and all these drugs that I can't remember because I didn't write them down. And Kai's like, oh, he's still alive. And then I don't remember.
It's like the movie Seven, says Kai Griffin.
Which also, like, if you do drugs, to do a lot of drugs you don't like need to inject it in more places. Like you could just use the one spot.
Oh my God.
You don't need to. He just like sticks like 10 different needles, like one into each arm, one into each leg, like 3 in his neck, 1 in his like forehead, and I'm like, I don't even think that goes anywhere.
Holy shit! Wait, I just realized too, with all the flashbacks and flash forwards, this really is like the Family Guy of American Horror Story. Like, remember, like, I'll tell you why Kai's good. Remember the time we went to the Christian haunted house, and then they go there, and that explains everything.
Oh, I hate that that's right. I hate that that's right.
Remember the time Valerie Solanas killed Andy Warhol?
Peter, I think women bleed, men lead. Oh, very good, Harrison.
Oh, I hate how accurate that is. I hate it.
Family Guy of American Horror Story. It's beautiful.
Oh my God.
Amazing. So then they run out of that room and like another door opens and they hear over the loudspeaker, which very clearly indicates they're being watched. What of the sodomite? And I believe I said, oh, is there going to be a guy who is gay and then blows up or something? And honestly, like 90% of the way there, because they go into the room and it's just a guy who I guess is gay. They don't really like try and sell you on it. He's just like sitting there. He's just kind of like, yeah, I'm gay, whatever. But they has a bunch of knives into the back, and yeah, like he kind of just leans forward and he's like, hey, they're gonna stab me in the back with a bunch of knives for being gay, when he finishes his speech. And then just kind of looks at Kai, and Kai's like, wait a minute. We could unbuckle you from this chair. And like, instead of the guy just being like, hey man, can you unbuckle me? I'm about to get stabbed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so I think what the implication is that even up until this point, that both the pastor, Kai and Winter and the people in the haunted house all assume Kai and Winter are there because like they're on board with it. Like this isn't like a punishment for Kai and Winter. This is like something that they would be interested in because they post insane shit online. So for all intents and purposes, the people in the haunted house should really just assume. I assume this isn't the first time the pastor's done this. Like let people through here.
Yeah.
I am assuming, but what's weird is that the first lady acts like no one's come through, and please help me. I don't think you're a crazy person.
Also, I think if I was strapped to a chair with knives at my back that I knew were going to eject through my chest, I would just take my chances with whoever walked through, you know? I'd be like, hey, do you want to get me out of this? And if they were like, no, we're into it, I'd be like, shucks, didn't hurt to ask though.
I know. 'Cause you know what? Yeah, because you'd feel stupid if like the next person got out because of that. You'd be like, I should have asked. I knew I should have asked.
Yeah, the guy after you, like you're a ghost in the next room, and the other guy's just like, hey man, can you let me out? And they're like, oh shit, yeah, no problem, buddy. And you're like, oh, damn it.
The other thing that is super fucking annoying about this whole sequence is again, they are just fully ripping off the Saw franchise, because you have Pastor Charles, or whatever the fuck his name was, like doing a big jigsaw thing where he's watching and like he's like, this person did this and so now they're gonna die this way, blah 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 blah. The thing about Saw is that it explains how weak little old man John Kramer, whatever his name was, gets everything done, because it is a lot for one weird little old man to get done. Never explains how Pastor Charles managed to get this. Like, he's kidnapped dozens of people, evidently, and has somehow gotten all of them to be sedated or, like, strapped to chairs with no help whatsoever, evidently, because it's just him there. Which leaves a lot of questions, but the good news is it doesn't matter, because this whole sequence doesn't super matter.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, like also it doesn't work because the people don't really respond in such a way that makes you think their stuff was like befitting of a contrapasso punishment of this degree. Like, it's a bit like, again, I can't overstate, the guy in the chair isn't really freaking out at the end. He's just kind of tired.
Yeah.
He's just mostly like, he's like, yeah, he kind of strapped me to this chair. Why? I don't know. There's a bunch of bondage gear around me, so like probably because I'm into stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like really lazy about the whole thing. So it kind of sucks the air out of the room really hard, and there's no way for tension to have been built just whatsoever.
None.
But fortunately, Kai at this point does have a brain cell, and he's like, oh shit, yeah, I can untie you. And he unties the guy, who gets out of the chair right at the last second, and he survives. And then that's when Kai's like, I'm just gonna free everybody. I don't think this guy can stop me. Which, fair, it's just one weird old man. And he does that. He frees everybody, but not before Winter tries to get out the front door and is thwarted by the simplest to use lock in the entire universe. Just forgets that locks exist, I guess, and just tries to open the door assuming it's unlocked. Gets owned by a little pulley lock, and then the priest, pastor, whatever the fuck he is, like leans over Winter and like pins her to the door, kind of. He's not actually physically touching her, which is what is very frustrating about this scene, is he's like just kind of like leaning over her on the door.
Right.
And being
frowning.
like, he's not, yeah, and frowning and being like, I think you need to go in my haunted house because you have the sin on you. And at this point, I think both Ty and I said, we're like, punch him, headbutt him, knee him in the dick.
Yeah, I was like, headbutt him in the nose, and you're like, kick him in the junk. I'm like, hell yeah, delete that genital triangle, Winter, get it. And because this, again, I think they were trying to like make him seem imposing, but again, weird little old man.
Yeah,
you
he's
gotta
just some
choose your
dude.
character, right? You gotta choose if he's intimidating. Like, if you made him like a weird like doctor guy or something, maybe it'd be more believable. Or like, I don't know, he could have just been like a younger, more buff pastor guy, but he's just a little weird guy.
Yeah.
Like, I think I would like easily defeat him if he was near any kind of like drop. Like I could just shove him off like a tiny edge and he would break his hip. Like, it's not.
Yeah, he's not. It doesn't work. You know.
And again,
Winter's like a college age girl. Like, she's pretty tough.
And
probably.
She will later like tie a guy up and like in a basement and everything. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she can like
Yeah.
move a dude. Like, yeah, like it's not.
And again, it's so frustrating because he's, again, did not like, he got the jump on her, air quotes, but like, he didn't use it to put her in like a headlock. He used it to like startle her and then push her against the door, but he is not touching her. So she is not restrained in any way, shape, or form. She could just knee him in the dick and run away. She could punch him in the face. Like, she could do anything at this point, but just
It's like
doesn't.
a guy being weird at a bar. More than anything else. Yeah, like, it's not really a serial killer. It's just a guy being weird at a bar. And yeah, it doesn't really work on an intimidation thing, which is why it's really weird, because guess what? This is why Winter thinks she owes Kai, because Kai just like shows up behind him and hits him with like a rod.
Yeah.
He goes down super easy like we expected him to, because he is, again, a frail little old man. Like Ty just said, this is what Winter, I guess, attributes to being him saving her life, but that's kind of irrelevant, because the next thing that happens is he straps the pastor to the chair that stabs gay people, and all of the people he's freed are all standing around. So that means that all of them who have been presumably kidnapped for several days, months, who knows how long, and are probably in immediate need of medical attention, are like, it's fine, we'll wait an extra hour or so to do this weird thing to this dude. It's fine. Don't call an ambulance or anything. We'll wait. But they're all standing around the pastor, and then Kai gives like a weird little speech, and then he has the chair stab the pastor. And that's what Winter says is what started him down a weird slippery slope where he started, quote unquote, popping Adderall and dyed his hair blue. To which she says it drove him crazy because he couldn't save everybody. And I'm like, you've made a new character. This is a different human. This is a different person. You've made a new character now.
Again!
Later on, Yeah, later on you mentioned it, but it is so unbelievable that they have decided his goal is he has to save everyone, and that's what drove him mad. Because that's a story that can be told, right? That's an interesting story that can be an interesting character of somebody who can't accept their own humanity and, you know, can't get to grips with the fact that they can't stop everything. I'm pretty sure they've done that in Superman comics no less than 4 times.
Yeah. But
Kai's not Superman. Kai's not even a little Superman. Kai's a weird little fascist. Like, it doesn't work.
It makes sense if you have if Winter had been the one who died and he couldn't save her, someone who he's supposed to be close to, not just random strangers. And this is a guy who's like heroic and like, I couldn't save everybody. But yeah, then like later on, he has a much better traumatic event of like keeping your fucking parents mummified in your bedroom, you know? And then like, but that's not it. It's this. And then like on top of it, he's later like kind of on like red pill sites and shit while Winter becomes the SJWs they were like, what is going on here? Like, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and like it doesn't help that I know we complain about it every single time, but like it truly is an issue that we have been hopping back and forth timeline wise so much in this season and in this show in general that like it is almost, without sitting down with like paper, pen, and like screenshots, it is almost impossible to tell which of these character building lore dumps have the events that happen in them when they happen in the timeline of us seeing the character develop. And I think maybe it's done intentionally chaotically. That way we can't be like, oh, well, if Kai hadn't watched his parents get like murder or suicided yet, he would be more level-headed at the haunted house. So the haunted house has to happen before. But then that doesn't make sense because then he wouldn't have already been radicalized before, or he would have already been radicalized before his parents did the thing. And then, but that's when he apparently got radicalized. Like, and I think they do it chaotically on purpose so that you can't keep up with it unless you're just like obsessed.
The only anchor we now have for the big events is that anytime his hair was dyed blue, it was post-house. Anytime it was brown, it was pre-house.
And this is 2015. Great. It all happened in the course of 2 years. All of it.
Yeah.
You know? His dad. I think his dad too. Yeah. Everything.
But yeah, that's what's confusing to me is because like I just said, I don't know if practical, pragmatic Kai is supposed to be post or pre-parents being unalive. Because his hair is brown, so that would imply it's before. But this is the thing that, like, radicalizes him, and he's not radicalized when the thing with his parents happens. He gets radicalized after that. So,
I think it's worth, like, we're only, like, 15 or 20 minutes into the episode at this point, right?
Yes,
like, we've
correct.
recorded an hour. It's just this is like such an episode. Sorry.
For what it's worth, too, the episode is hugely front-loaded. Like, this is 90% of the actual content of the episode. The rest of it is just weird shit that does nothing. So don't worry.
Don't worry. Exactly.
Yeah. In fact, there's only one more really relevant event that happens before it all starts becoming kind of nothing for 30 to 45 minutes. There is a weird interaction between Winter and Kai about how Winter hates that this is not a flashback anymore, by the way. They're now with Winter is in Kai's house. And she's like, I don't like that you put us in the kitchen. Kai says that he was going to put Harrison in the kitchen, but he's dead. And I'm like, why would you put Harrison in the kitchen? He doesn't know how to cook. It makes sense that Ivy would be in the kitchen. She runs a restaurant.
Also, I believe you mentioned at this point, you were like, you just asked me, they're like, wait, did they say Harrison was dead? Because this is the first time it's confirmed that they killed Harrison. Because before that, it was just like, it looked like they were just kind of beating the shit out of him. I don't remember. Because did they stab him? I thought they just like hit him with stuff.
They had a saw, but like we don't really see what happened with that. They could have just cut his arm off. We don't know. But like the reason why I brought that up wasn't because like, oh wait, they killed Harrison, because I knew Harrison would probably be dead.
Yeah.
But like the thing was that Kai wasn't following up on Harrison being dead. Kai never mentioned it, which you'd think that if someone in your cult was murdered and you didn't know who did it, you'd maybe follow up on that. You'd be like, we need to figure out who the fuck killed Harrison.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He never mentions it until just then. So if he's not supposed to know about the women hating him, he's doing a piss poor job of hiding it. It's a nothing thing that he says, and it makes no sense. Then they start doing the pinky thing. And then that's where we start. Are you guys ready for it to get so much worse in every way, shape, and form?
Because there's a line in here that is going to come up, and I love it, which is that, like, they do the pinky thing, and then there's a point where, like, Kai suddenly stops, and she's like, Kai, you've never jumped out of a pinky power before. Which is like pinky power, that's what we're calling it? But all right.
Yes, fine. They call it that.
They do establish
times.
It's called the pinky power, which it took me a minute to remember, but what it was reminding me of was Scrappy Doo when he declares that he has puppy power. That's all I could think of. Like, pinky power does not sound like adult stuff. It sounds like how the Wonder Twins are going to transform or something like that. Oh my God.
And then they're doing pinky power right now, but Kai's feeling a little apprehensive about something because he's got
the verbified form. They're doing pinky power just killed me. Okay, go ahead.
So something is clearly weighing heavily on his mind. What do you think could be weighing on the mind of our Lord and Savior Kai Anderson? Well, it's that he wants to fuck his sister. I know we were all thinking it at this point. We're like, at this point, Kai's gotta want to fuck his sister, right? Well, I have great news. He does, but he knows that that's fucked up because Winter's like, hey, that's fucked up. And then Kai's like, hey. I'm not a monster. I'm gonna let the other gay guy in our group bang you while I bang him. That way, it's still my baby, but I didn't have to bang my sister. Which starts us on what I think Ty and I have determined is a very important thread for Kai's character arc, which is that he does not at all understand human sexualities at one bit.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything about it at all.
Yeah, he is bi and has never heard the term bi in his life and doesn't understand what it means and therefore thinks being you can just be, he's like, well, I mean, I don't get why all the people are fighting over being gay versus being straight. Just be both like I am. And he just doesn't know that that's a different thing. That's like a different thing entirely. Like, he just doesn't get it. He's that's just like, yeah, why can't everyone just be both like me? Well, I don't see what the problem is.
That's why he's so against labels. He doesn't know them. He can't keep them all straight.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
It is, and it's so much this. It is so much this because he also doesn't understand what incest means.
Oh God, right? Yeah.
And Winter's like, this is incest, and he's like, no, it's not, and she's like, it is, and he's like, no, and then they move on. Then so we established that Kai wants to have a Messiah baby with Winter for some reason, and for some reason Winter's like, I guess. Because I guess
this motivation comes out of nowhere. They decided they need to strap like 12 more things onto Kai's character this episode, and this is one of them. He now wants to have a Messiah baby that he has to do with his sister through the cop. Great.
The cop's gonna have his penis in her vagina, and Pi will have his penis in the cop's butt. This is still incest. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah,
That doesn't work. Sexual activity.
No.
With your relative.
Yep.
It's so they just established that that's something that they're planning on doing. That it'll come up later. Don't worry. Then there's a very brief scene of Allie and her therapist at home where they're both kind of like equally freaking out, but this time he's freaking out like how Allie would normally freak out and vice versa. And then Vincent's like, Kai is my brother. Here's a weird family photo of him, Winter, and I. And then she's like, your sister fucked my wife. And I'm like, Allie, there's more important things right now. People are dead.
Yeah, that's... well, I mean, she has the right idea, right? Which is like, wait a minute, you're in on this. But like, yeah, but she's still like, your sister fucked my wife. Like, you're getting close. You're close to what you should be really mad at, right? Like, you're getting there, Allie. Just keep it, warm.
Oh my God.
She's not afraid of focusing on the wrong things anymore.
And I'll be totally honest because this is exactly where the episode starts just being absolute nothing. I zoned out for this part, but they're like arguing, and like Allie's like, you have been giving Kai all the info, and he's like, no, I'm just a bad therapist, and sometimes he'd get into my drawers and look around in there.
He gets into my files and looks around with everything, to which I was just yelling, that's a HIPAA violation, friend. You can't do that. You're losing your license for sure.
Which Allie says, by the way, too. She's like, I want your license. I'm like, Allie, people are dead. People are dying, Allie. There's more important things on the table right now. We get it. Vincent, dog shit therapist. We know. we understand.
Why would she believe that, too, right? Because I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not even in the situation, and I don't buy that shit.
Yep. And then, it doesn't explain why, but like, Allie's just like, I don't like this. Bye. The good news is we're back to the incest thing now.
The good news. Don't worry, listener. We're back here.
We got that little scene. And then,
It's like, take me back to the hell house, please. But anyway.
Oh, time for the jacking it counter to get brought back up again, because somebody's about to be jerking off.
So this scene is so uncomfortable, but also very funny in many ways. So it starts with both Samuels, which some of you may be like, who is Samuels? We've never heard that name before. It's the cop that Harrison was banging. Who's also apparently the only police officer in this town.
Yeah.
So that's Samuels, by the way, in case anyone is confused, as I understand why you would be. He's wearing a robe. Winter's wearing a robe. They both descend twin staircases into Kai's basement, which I didn't even realize they had. There's no sound. They like meet at the bed. And then Kai enters the room, also wearing a robe, and he puts on "And I Swear" on his iPod Touch. And then they have this 2-minute long bit about how this song is going to be the song that plays whenever a new Messiah is conceived.
Yeah, this is our holy song now. This is the new holy song. I really want someone, by the way, and feel free to tweet this at me if you make it, someone to make an edit of this scene where when he puts the music on, it's that the song of the guy who posted his like the playlist he used when he was banging ladies, and it's the that whole thing. It was like CBAT or whatever. Yeah,
Oh my god.
This is our holy song for when we create the Messiah child.
And I do get like some of this is maybe like American Horror Story's attempt at dark humor, but like there's a part where Winter goes like, you know, like when he's like, this will be the song for Messiah babies, and Winter's like, isn't there supposed to be only one Messiah? And it's like, is there supposed to be like a fucking laugh track here? Like, what the hell, Winter? But fine.
Winter, I think, was our named character of the week that got to act as the audience, where she just said things that the audience was thinking. Like when Kai was like, I want to have a baby with you. And she's like, Kai, that's incest. I'm like, she's speaking for the audience currently, because everybody would already know that in universe. Like this is a very awkward scene, but it's also like kind of funny. Winter lays down, and like the cop guy gets on top of her, and he's like, I can't, it's too soft, I can't do it. And then Kai is behind him jerking it, as we have come to love about Kai. Not afraid to jerk.
Kai's just fluffing. He's getting ready for the big game. Yeah, he's getting set up. He's making sure he's polished and ready. It's,
just like the time I was in the sauna with Harrison.
And then the cop like turns back to him, and he's like, hey man, I'm gay. That means I can't I'm not into women. Do you not get that? And Kai's just like, huh? Just be into it. I don't know what you mean. Doesn't everyone want to fuck my sister like me? No? That's weird.
Also, right before he says that, the cop like looks back at him and is like, kind of like, I don't remember the exact verbiage he uses, but it's like something to the extent of like, maybe if you start fucking my butt, then I'll get a boner from that. And Kai's like, no. I don't remember what he calls himself. I'm
he
gonna
says
say the
like
councilman.
the leader. the leader must enter last.
Yeah,
or
he
something
says like
that.
the grand leader must
show.
enter last, meaning like I will not put my pee-pee in you until you've put your pee-pee in my sister.
It's important for the ritual. I need it.
I don't even remember him saying that. Can you imagine what the show has become, like, turns you into watching it? Like, that's like, that line didn't even register with me.
Oh my god. Then it's very funny because then Winter like stands up and she's like, I don't want to do this. This is stupid. This is gross. It's incest. No, thank you. And then like Kai is kind of getting like heated, like arguing back with her. And then there's a very funny moment where like Samuels is getting off of the bed and he's like, oh, well, I don't know, guys. Maybe I could just like come in a cup or something. Like very diplomatically trying to find a compromise.
Yeah, there's a solution. We can think this through.
It is just a really, really funny moment of Samuels being like, I could go come in a cup or something. Do you think would that work? Then that's the end of that scene. Thank God. Now we're back. This is such a weird scene. It didn't even feel like it belonged in this episode.
I love that preface.
Allie. She's cooking something. Well, first there's a little like micro scene where she's cradling Oz's toys in his bed, and then that's over and she's cooking dinner now. She grabs a knife and opens the door, and who's at her door? It's Kai, and I guess she invited him to have dinner. I had a whole thing planned for this, but we're already running low on time. She references that she's making sloppy joes, but then she says a few statements later that she's made manwich, and I'm like, no, you don't say that you made both of those things. You either say you made manwiches or you say you made sloppy joes. That's not interchangeable, and I don't have time to explain why.
Oh, you don't want to talk about Yum Yums?
Yum Yums and slush burgers.
Go for it. I say that's at this point, the hell with everything.
Yeah, whatever. We're in our city. You can. I think it's a valuable aside.
Fine.
I think
Do
the
it.
audience will want to hear.
No, because
Here.
there is another thing that I care about more than that, which at the time I didn't know I would care as much
is
about.
it not barbecues, dynamites, goulash, sloppy janes, slush burgers, steamers, wimpies, Yum Yums?
Steamers. Oh my god.
A wimpy sandwich.
Oh my god.
Can I get a boneless cheeseburger?
Here's me pulling my inner Samuels and being diplomatic. Let's table it for episode 9. You know, if we have time, in case that slows down.
Let's put the slush burger in a cup for later.
Good, because we're getting to my next favorite part of this episode, which is that Kai is like, I don't trust you. I know you're not gonna kill me, but I am still gonna do this and this. And then he's like. And then he points to, because a bunch of his little Proud Boy fuckos came with him and are standing around the kitchen. He kind of just gestures at one of them indiscriminately, and he's like, Speedwagon will test my meal before I eat it. And I'm like, holy shit. That dude's name is Speedwagon? That is incredible. I hope he's a relevant character moving forward.
Spoiler.
Thank
Speedwagon's a
fucking
character.
God.
Anyway, sorry.
Then this weird bullshit interaction happens. By the way, you may be thinking, wow, bold of Allie, who has previously been afraid of literally everything up until now, to invite Kai to go home. Clearly we would have gotten some like build-up if she actually had like a Home Alone style trap for him or something. Well, she doesn't. She just wants to talk to him. She says she has valuable information for Kai, but she wants her son in return for it. By the way, we as the audience have no fucking idea what she's talking about. And then Kai's like calling her bluff and is like, I don't believe you. She just tells him the information without acquiring the thing she wanted in return. She just says it. And the information is simply that Vincent is planning on committing Kai to a mental institution. That is something that he probably already knew because Kai knows everything. But for some reason, Allie.
Don't do an incest thing when you're like running for council and you have political ambitions, because that's kind of a scandal. Sorry, anyway, go ahead.
It tends to be, yes. But, you know,
when you're on his sister so bad.
When you're on the zoning board, is anyone really going to tell you can't do it?
Not with those guns. Oh, no.
that's the whole interaction. She doesn't get her son back, and she gave up the only thing she had. And then like both Ty and I commented on how, wow, this is very unlike Allie to be like this brave in the face of like danger. Wow. But it's good because she immediately addresses that by saying that inexplicably Kai has magically cured all her phobias, just like Barack Obama did back in 2008.
She also says that, like, unlike medicine or professional help or, like, you know, anything along those lines, self-help, medication, all of that, which I just want to say I personally find a little distasteful and a little disgusting. The fact that they're kind of trying to downplay the importance of medical health professionals in America in this year of all year. Well, in the end of the year they made it, honestly. Yeah, just really shitty. Just want to say a real quick fuck you to American Horror Story. Mental health professionals are important and valuable and deserve to be respected and treated well. Okay, sorry. That was an aside from me. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Understandable.
Yeah.
There's more coming.
Yeah. Unlike that crap, Kai, you have cured all of my phobias. By the way, do you just want to eat this burger or do you want to eat this? Do you want to eat this slush burger and not be a little bitch made piece of shit, or do you want me to feed it to your buddy Aerosmith? Which is like kind of a good joke, by the way. Like her, like again, if Allie had ever presented any characteristics that would even be like the glimmer in the eye of the current Allie we see in front of us, I would totally be down for it.
Right,
but having her start doing a witty like, oh, Aerosmith instead of Speedwagon quip, just it's not believable.
It's not earned,
it's not
right?
Believable.
It's like totally unearned. It's crap. It's just like, yeah, no, Allie's brave now. It's like, why though? Because again, she's like she's only as afraid as the plot needs her to be at any given moment. But whatever, she's cured, I guess.
But listen, I know what all of you at home are wondering, and that is, do you think you could maybe spare one more weird and inexplicable lore dump about Kai before this episode is over? Good news, humble listener. There's two more, but this is the first of two. It is framed with Winter dressed in an inmate outfit with a dunce cap on the side of a highway.
Oh, God.
I know a lot of you are thinking, Liz, you just made that shit up right now. No, I didn't. And I guess this is her punishment for not fucking her own brother. Is this what we're meant to glean from it?
Yeah, it really is. She's doing community service for not paying her brother
with a dunce cap on. And you know, cops, like other cops that aren't Samuels, who would see someone dressed as a prisoner on the side of the road picking up litter unmanned, unattended, they might be a little concerned about that.
Yeah.
And that's not going to go viral.
It's cool.
In this whole, like, internet, everything goes viral, like, thing that they set in this world. Like, no one in this town is not in the cult except Allie and, I guess, the therapist.
Begrudgingly, not the therapist.
Yeah.
But then Samuels, like, shows up and he, like, starts waving a Tupperware out of the window at Winter and, like, calls her into the car. And he's like, at first you kind of, like, they frame it like he's going to be nice to her, but then he's just a real piece of shit. And he's like, here's your Tupperware full of blended oats or whatever the fuck he served her. And she's like, I want real food. I don't know why we're being punished.
It was gruel. And she goes, but I had gruel yesterday, which is like the most Tiny Tim ass statement you can make. You're just like, but I had gruel yesterday, mister.
That's a fucking quote for everyone listening at home. She doesn't say like oatmeal or some shit. That is an actual quote.
Yeah.
He said, but I had gruel yesterday.
This is revolting. I can't believe it.
Oh my god. And then like a weird 180 immediately. The Samuels goes from being like kind of chill to being very unchill. And I don't even really remember what they were arguing about. He was just mad that she wasn't doing what Kai wanted. And then
she was just like, hey, can I have that apple? And he's like, no. And she's like, come on, Kai's not here. He's not magic. He doesn't know everything that's going on around you. Like, come on, just don't be a wiener. And then he now needs to go into his diatribe of why he's such a big wiener for Kai.
And he says it, the way he frames it right before we do like a dream style transition into yet another flashback is he goes, she says something like, why do you listen to him or whatever? And he goes, because back before all of this, I had him first. And it's like, what the fuck did you just say to me? And then it segues into another lore dump for Kai, which is now we've gone back to, at this point, he has brown hair. Don't worry, in this same flashback, he will develop blue hair. So who's to say what the timeline of this flashback is specifically?
This reminds me of the time Kai told me I was gay. You know.
Yeah. Well, in his way, because Kai doesn't know what that means.
Fair.
Basically, okay, so it's brown hair Kai, so it's pre-Hell House Kai, writing fake prescriptions with Vincent's prescription pad to some kid in the alleyway, and then the detective, like, tackles him. It's unclear as to why this one detective was sent to hunt down this one teenager. But he's there, and it's Samuels, and he's like, that's a felony. You're gonna go to jail. And just so we're clear, the kind of therapist that Vincent is doesn't get prescription pads. So this is already being held together by a razor-thin wire.
And also, if he was, from my short time in the medical engineering industry and talking to, different doctors and whatnot, this is kind of like the sum of all fears situation. The one thing we didn't want to have happen, like losing your script pad is apparently like the worst, like the actual worst mistake you can make. So the fact that Vincent's just doing it casually and doesn't A, notice, B, it somehow just never comes back to him. Yeah, wild.
Someone who
you think eventually like a pharmacist would call,
dying, but is not smart enough to do that.
Yeah, also you'd think like at some point like a pharmacy would call in and be like, hey man, did you really prescribe this guy this stuff? Because he already picked up like 3 other this week. Because like that's the kind of call that like pharmacists often have to make. Yeah. Things like that. And then he would be like, oh, no, I didn't. And they'd go, oh, well, this is on your script pad. And he would go, oh, fuck. And then have to do something about it. Like, yeah. The idea of this going on and Vincent not knowing about it in some way, shape, or form is wild as hell. Another case of Vincent is truly the worst therapist.
And then I guess they like strike up like a weird business deal where he's like, you give me some cut. Again, I had checked out kind of at this point. You give me some cut of this and I won't turn you into the police, even though I'm the police.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, 3070, drop it off at this address and then you can fucking keep doing it. I don't give a shit. But like, give me my cut. I'm corrupt.
Right.
Yeah, that's all he says.
And then indiscriminate amount of time passes in the flashback. It's very unclear, but now Kai has blue hair. I don't even know if they knew that he was going to have blue hair for this scene, because it really doesn't matter, like, contextually, whether or not this is pre or post Hell House Kai. Because he didn't learn what gay was at the Hell House. He was just reminded that he doesn't know what it is. It contextually means nothing that his hair changes colors here. But he just kind of lets himself in to Samuels's apartment or house or whatever it is. So I guess they're on such trusting terms that like he can just let himself in. Yet for some reason, Kai is also simultaneously exploring the house.
You're blackmailing and exploiting for a cut. The guy you're blackmailing and exploiting for a huge part of his income. You're just gonna. And you do nothing for, you're just going to let him come into your house unchecked. Sure. You're not going to have it locked. No security, no weapon. You're just going to, you're actually going to have swords in the walkway, so it'd be easier for him to kill you. That's great. That's great. Keep it up. God, Nazis are stupid. Yeah. So anyway, Kai walks in, and this dumbass motherfucker is a Nazi. Like, full blown, they just put a big ol' swastika right on up there. Just throw that up on the top deck. And also, like, hey, don't most people like keep that stuff like a little bit secret? That's like part of the move is they hide it from most people, you know, and they wait until they know you're in their inner circle. Because it's in his front doorway. It's literally you open the door to his apartment and bing, bang, boom, there's a swastika and a couple of swords and whatnot. And it also makes even less sense considering we will find out later Samuels is claiming to be banging 3 to 4 women a night on average, which means 3 to 4 women a night are just like,
even even World War II like vets who like have like Nazi shit that they picked up, like, you know what I mean, like who are not Nazis and like picked it up in war, know like
also,
don't leave
like
it out.
90.
But I'm just saying,
we forgot
like,
to mention he's also a vampire. We forgot to mention that. It explains a lot about the hair. But yeah, fully a Nazi. Also, great time for Kai to walk in, I guess, because he's unsuccessfully banging a lady currently. Like, there's a lot of noises happening, but then she starts yelling at him for his pee-pee being soft. And he gets mad, and then she gets mad, and then she like storms out, sees Kai in the hallway, and like doesn't think it's weird, is just like, that dude sucks. Which is what a wild. That guy wasn't in the house when you started banging. I would be a little bit concerned if that was me.
And then she looks directly at the camera and goes, "He can't get it up unless he chokes me with both hands. This is a thing that you should remember. This is his character trait. That's what I'm here for. Well, now that I've delivered this message, goodbye. See you in another show."
I'm gonna bring up. I think this is an okay time to bring up my thing too, maybe, you know.
Yeah.
Right now, American Horror Story is strangely 2 for 2 on gay men who hate women, which is, you know, I don't think that they're like trying to send a message or anything, but that's kind of a shitty subtext when you think about it.
Like, and to the point of like, not just like they are bad towards women, but like violent misogyny.
Yeah.
Like actually like actionable stuff. Yeah. Not why? Why do we got why? Yeah, it's weird, man.
Yeah, no.
You could even go as far as to say 3 of them are, because 2 of the men that we were introduced to in the last episode that means nothing in context to this whole entire franchise, is that they were also, if we are meant to believe the women are the good guys in the last episode, both of the men that are presented there also betray the women and also are like real shitty, awful people who are also gay.
That's right.
You could even consider that to be additional evidence for this point.
God.
It's so what's weird about it's funny is because I was originally going to say this, you know, I was originally going to say my thing was like, you know, American Horror Story is usually like pretty like queer friendly from what I know, you know, I know like me being like exactly what I'm fucking talking about here, but still, like, it's the thing that, and then as this episode was going on, I was thinking about all these little things from other seasons. I was like, I'm not gonna put myself out there that much. I don't know for sure. There's probably other shittier things.
Yeah,
couple, but still, this is a pretty.
Feel the same way.
It's like, yeah. It's like I still attribute it to just really poor writing. Like, I didn't realize these 2 characters were both this misogynist and what the message I was sending, because all the men are, or whatever, you know what I mean? But like, it just, yeah, it sucks. So anyway.
Yeah. And then, so Kai walks in afterwards and basically, like, upon hearing this, uses his little jonker brain to put together the correct thing to say to Samuels to make him listen to him forever, which is, if you have sex with women, you'll be giving them all of your ki, because ki is stored in the balls.
Yeah.
Instead, if we fuck each other, we'll be channeling our ki into each other into a beautiful loop, and it'll just become more powerful. It's actually just we're becoming more powerful if we bang. It's not gay, though. And Samuels goes, good.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gay. I just only want to have sex with men and not women. It's just...
Who I hate.
And then Kai, of course, is like, oh, yeah, I know, man. That's how it works, right?
Oh, like, just like me. Yeah.
And that makes a beautiful symbiotic relationship for the 2 of them. Because now Samuels, who has been in every scene we have seen him so far, having some kind of sexual encounter with a man, re-emphasizes now in the present time.
And not just Kai is the thing. Like, if it was just Kai, then like, okay, maybe he's like supposed to be this delusional for the cult leader that like he's doing these mental gymnastics to justify it to himself or whatever. But like, it's multiple men. Yeah. So.
Like, better written show, but it would be, but no.
Then there's this very uncomfortable scene. We're back in the car with the two of them, where he re-emphasizes to Winter that he's not gay, which, what a confusing thing for Winter to hear after seeing him hook up with every man in the cult that she's in. And he tries to sexually assault her in order to fulfill Kai's plan, but he's a fucking idiot and has his gun in grabbing range. And Winter grabs the gun and is like, get owned, makes him say a bunch of stuff from the Scum Manifesto, so I guess we're still doing that.
Yeah.
And then she owns him. She shoots him in the head, and that's it. And now Samuels is dead.
I feel like it would almost be more valuable as a scene if there wasn't a whole like thing building up that she learned this as a manifesto from like an ancient wise leader or whatever, and instead it was just Winter coming into her own and kind of realizing, oh my god, this is going too far. Like, it might be a more interesting character development than a wise old druid taught her. Like, it's just,
use the force. Way to get in there. To shoot that guy. Come on.
His gun's in his right pocket.
I can't stand his turns. Get him.
I know it's smaller than a womp rat. Just shoot it anyway.
So Samuels is dead. There's one more scene. This scene drained me. It's emotionally. I'm gonna let you guys describe it mostly, but I will set the tone saying that we're back in the basement. And now the Proud Boys are here, and now the clowns are here. Kai's here, and Vincent and Beverly are both tied up for some reason. And now I'm gonna let. This scene is so exhausting to me.
Okay, I got it. So they walk in. Everybody's in the basement. They are clearly holding some form of tribunal. Vincent and Beverly are both tied up and gagged on their knees, on the floor in the middle of a circle of clowns, which, for the Eagle Eye Observer, does include the outfits for people who have passed since. So, like Beverly, for example, who is there sitting on the ground, her clown outfit is being used. So, like, clearly we now know that the clowns are being cycled in and out. And they take off Vincent's mask, and basically Kai's just like, hey man, I trusted you were supposed to protect me, what the fuck. And Vincent starts making some weird excuses that don't have anything to do with anything, and then goes, hey, remember when we used to do pinky power? And then they start doing pinky power after discussing, it was just, we could do anything we wanted as long as we said the truth. Wasn't it beautiful? Wasn't it beautiful, Kai? And Kai goes, yes, brother, one more pinky power. And they do the pinky thing. And then Kai creates some trimming shears out of nowhere and does a little bonsai on Vincent's pinky and cuts it right off. And then Vincent's like rolling around on the ground and is like, ooh, fuck my pinky. And Kai dives on him and just stabs him in the neck, which honestly, like, kind of a butthole move to do the pinky first. Like, if you're going to stab him right away, just stab him, you don't need to, like, come on, man. He also doesn't stab him very good. He's kind of like glugging around on the ground. Not a great killing, real amateur hour shit.
Awful.
And then Kai explains that the reason Beverly is there is because Winter explained that she was, in fact, and there's a detail that gets unveiled here that I think is beautiful, which is that Winter was supposed to be throwing trash out onto the ground and onto the lawn because basically Kai is explaining the lie that Winter told to Kai to frame Beverly. And in said lie, when Samuels pulls up, Winter goes over and goes, yeah, I'm doing what I gotta do. And Samuels goes, yeah, good, because Kai wants you to throw all the garbage back onto the lawn where it belongs, because he doesn't believe in global warming. And Winter goes, yep, I know. And it's like, yum, extra gruel, please.
Yep.
And then Beverly just manifests from the ether, leans her hand in the window with a gun, shoots Samuels in the head, and goes, yeah, got him, turd. Don't forget, we did the women thing. Oh, well, bye.
Yep.
And then Kai went, and I believed all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Beverly goes, you are so dumb. Oh my God.
I know.
She legitimately just spends like a full 2 minutes just being like, you're dumb. This is stupid. This show is stupid. You're a dumb villain. You're a bad villain. I fucking hate you, man.
I really need to reiterate to the people at home, that is not a bit that like Ty and Liz just did. This actually happens. So yes. Yeah.
Yes. 100%. Like, that's what the lie was that Winter sat down. And again, Kai is supposed to be this all-knowing, all-wise thing. Why would he believe his sister, who, by his own confession, was doing like a little like marching around with pink pussy hats and, slogans on signs and stuff, why she would just be like, yes, sir, I love doing damage to the environment for my brother, who I love very much, and that's why I'm okay. I'm atoning for the fact that I wouldn't let my brother fuck me.
I know. I like. It's like the perfect motive for like betraying him. It's like, how can you not see this guy? Really?
Yeah.
Fuck.
And Beverly's just like, truly is just like, you are the dumbest. You're a delusional little freak who's on city council, and like. And then Kai's like, well, come on, Beverly, we had a good thing. You were my favorite. And she goes, it was supposed to be equal power, and you literally put me in the kitchen making fucking cookies. And he goes, well, I mean, only a couple cookies. Like, it's like, he has like no retort to this. And then is like, yeah, death would be too good for you. Put her in the isolation chamber. And Beverly is kind of just like smiling as she's dragged away, just like, fuck you, you little turd.
Yeah.
I hate you. And as she's wheeled away to the isolation chamber, it starts, they start pulling masks off of all the characters so that we know who the new clowns are. One of them is Robert E.O. Speedwagon. One of them is just like another one of the little white power guys that was hanging out. And then, since Beverly isn't there, who's in Beverly's costume? And they pull off the mask and bum, bum, bum. It's Allie, I guess. Sure. Why not?
Allie's in the cult now. She's
great.
And Ivy,
she's doing it from the inside because she's not afraid of anything. And Ivy kind of reacts like, wait, what?
I'm like, oh, no.
Which I feel like is a really reasonable response. Like, hey, Kai, you know what we did to her, right?
Yeah.
Like, you were there, man.
Hey.
We can't let her in. Like Ivy directly says at one point in a previous episode, I drove my wife crazy. Like,
It's sucks so bad because it doesn't make any fucking sense. And like Ivy's whole motive for getting into the cult was like to get back at Ivy for voting for Jill Stein. God, I can't believe these are fucking sentences out of my goddamn mouth. Like,
it hurts to recant these sometimes. It hurts to like relive seeing it with my eyeballs, perceiving it with my eyes.
It's because, like, the more time you think about it and the more times you think about it in short succession, the more it quickly unravels. Like, at the slightest observation, none of it works or makes sense.
And it's such a fucking mess. Yeah, like, you'll even miss, like, some ways that it doesn't work. And it'll be like, oh, yeah, you're right, that doesn't either. It's, like, it's weird because it moves so fast, but it doesn't establish the things it needs to establish to like for you to buy any of it. So it's just like a huge wasted effort.
a lot of times episodes, specifically several mini episodes in this season, but a lot of times episodes of American Horror Story in certain seasons feel like those videos where it's like you watch it and then at the end it's like, did you see what color the gorilla was? And you realize because you were like too focused on the dancing people, you didn't see the gorilla walk through frame.
Yeah.
That's what they feel like.
Yeah. And it feels like they like try and do things that are supposed to be like, "Ooh, did you notice this?" But again, the things are framed in such a way that there would be no reason for you to notice those things. Also, they aren't internally consistent. Like, you only can do a clever, "Oh, did you notice this thing in the past?" if you like actually set up and have everything paid off consistently, right?
Yeah.
If you just do things arbitrarily, like cut back to the shooting of Andy Warhol, I can't evaluate whether or not something is going to have a payoff, right? Like, you can't earn that.
Come on, are you saying there wasn't a payoff for a whole episode dedicated to finding out that the Zodiac Killer was actually a bunch of ladies, in one of which you shot Andy Warhol? You mean that wasn't plot relevant?
It wasn't. No.
You know, Liz, the more you go into detail about it, the more actually, yeah, it was extremely not plot relevant. I forgot they tied it to the Zodiac Killer. Why the fuck did they do that?
That was that was retconning season 5. That's the only reason.
I'm trusting you. Yeah, I'm trusting you too on this one because the Lord in heaven. Yeah. Yeah, that was this episode. Do we want to do the traditional reading of the next title of the next episode?
Which one is this one? I don't have it up.
This one is The Winter of Our Discontent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was this one.
And that was episode 8.
I'm opening it now. It is, oh, Jesus Christ. It's Drink the Kool-Aid.
Oh, I wonder what that could be a reference to. That sounds like unique, like something I've never heard of before.
Oh my God, I just looked at the title of episode 10 and I want to fucking... Oh,
yeah. No, that's a good one. Don't.
It's fucking Charles and then in parentheses, Manson, close parentheses, in charge. They named it Charles in Charge, but Manson.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, they did that, huh? They did that, huh?
Oh my God!
So this is...
Also, this was episode 8 out of 11, huh?
Yeah. We're getting there.
Ha! Okay. Okay.
What do you mean? Sure. You don't have like a projected end in sight that you think is attainable in 3 episodes?
No, I don't.
That's weird.
It's amazing because I remember future events, but even I'm like, wait, how do they do that in like 3 episodes? Like, how is that possible? Like, I know it happens, but I can't remember how for the life of me. Oh, this show sucks.
Boy.
Yeah, well, I guess till next time, everybody. Look forward to
that.
To whatever the fuck's gonna happen next. See you next time.
I love it. I love it so much.